Yeah, sometimes the heart rate can take a while for it to get to where it needs to be. And so you might think you're running at threshold, you might think you're running at tempo effort, but actually you're not. So you have to be a good judge of where you're at. So I just checked that again. It's 2.2. Oh no, of course there was no water in the pour over. Why would anybody refill it?
Why would anyone boil a kettle without looking first?
What great idea. Excuse me?
Have you ever boiled a kettle without thinking there's water in it?
Starting the day with a Baraka. It's like knocking back a whiskey on the rocks. And it's going to make the coffee taste like absolute ass. But it's a good start to the day, especially when you're not well. Get a multivitamin in you, or vitamin C and zinc. No, it doesn't. That one other one was bad. Starbucks, Italian roast, pour over. Hideous. Maybe 2.5 out of 10. Yesterday's training, I woke up today, resting heart rate was lower, heart rate variability was higher. That means that what I did yesterday didn't make me any worse today. You can put everything in place that you want to get healthy, including rest, eating well, hydration, vitamin C and zinc, all the good stuff, but you still have to let the illness run its course. Alright, so we're gonna have a poor man shower. Maybe. Yeah, we are. This is a poor man shower because Katie has to go for a run, so Katie's about to kick me out. And I brushed my teeth and I sprayed some deodorant, and then we can go coffee shop. Now, Katie's going to tell you, as it stands right now, what percentage chance I have of making the Paris 2024 Olympics. Now, bear in mind, sitting on the couch right here, last night Katie was noticing a bit more flab around my belly, and she very kindly pointed that out, that there was a bit more timber than usual. So Katie, what is my percentage chances right now of making the Paris 2024 Olympic Marathon?
10%.
That's probably about right. 10%, but with each week it'll just get higher. You watch. Bye bye, Katie. Given I just biked for about an hour trying to do a wheelie across the driveway, I don't think I need to do much warm-up. So I'm going to do a little bit of a warm-up, and then we're going to do some threshold Ks. Normally it would be 2K, but because I've been a bit sick, then a K will allow me to go a little bit faster, but keep the lactate in a good place and make sure that I break myself back into training slowly. So we're going to do 8 by a K, a threshold. We want the lactate to be under 2.5. That's kind of not quite marathon effort, a bit above marathon effort, but a very low threshold. Threshold is either marathon-y type threshold, which is probably between 1.5 to 2.2 millimoles for me personally. And then half marathon threshold's probably more like 2.5, perhaps right up to about 5 towards the end of a half marathon, but not in training. In training, I'm always trying to keep the lactate under probably 3.5 maximum if I'm gonna call it threshold. Okay, so having a good threshold is probably the most important part of being a better distance runner. So obviously the faster that you can run at threshold is, for a marathon, threshold is, the cutoff is basically the point that you're burning too much fuel to survive the marathon. So it's all about fuel economy. So if you try to run a marathon at half marathon threshold, then you're burning fuel too quickly and you're not gonna make it round the marathon. Just like driving a car, if you drive with your revs too high and you only have enough fuel to get from A to B, you're not gonna make it because you're gonna run out of fuel. Marathon-y type threshold is actually a very easy intensity, but very, very useful for runners. Very, very useful to improve your marathon threshold, because of course the faster you can run at your marathon threshold, then the faster you can race a marathon. Half marathon threshold is like the holy grail of training intensity. I think offhand, it's roughly the kind of intensity that you can have a 3 to 4 word conversation. The coach says, how are you feeling? And you say, yeah, I'm doing okay. If you can't answer with a 3 to 4 word answer, and you can't be like, yeah, I'm doing okay. That doesn't work. It has to be like a very, yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. You have to still be an okay-ish place that you can kind of answer. It's not easy, but you should know yourself. If you're out there trying to do a threshold and you don't know your threshold heart rate and you don't have a lactometer, which is perfectly understandable, then you need to have some kind of thought process that says, how does this intensity feel? Could I run at this intensity for a full half marathon? And if the answer is no, then you have to slow down. Okay, so that's a bit of a warm-up done. Now we're going to jump into some threshold. So I'm going to set the speed at 11 miles per hour, just to be careful that I don't throw that lactate up too early. Yeah, sometimes the heart rate can take a while for it to get to where it needs to be. And so you might think you're running at threshold, you might think you're running at tempo effort, but actually you're not. So you have to be a good judge of where you're at. So I just checked that again, it's 2.2. Okay, number 4, finished. Heart rate's now 154. I'm gonna predict the lactate 2.1. I really fucking stabbed myself there, like. There we go. This will be the last lactate today. 2's fine. You don't need to check every time. It takes 15 seconds, but then it starts to eat into the recovery time because I can't possibly check lactate and only take 30 seconds rest. So there we go. 2.0. The tendency now would be to pick the pace up, but actually because I've been a bit sick, I'm just going to keep the pace where it's at. That's all good. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the speed. Let's finish this session. All right, so look, that's the job done. That's 8 by a K. I just kept it at 11 miles per hour. I think that's about maybe like 325 per K. I'm not quite sure. It's 7,000 feet. I've been a bit sick. Not only have I been a bit sick, I think I've ran about 30 mile a week for 5 or 6 weeks. But I've mountain biked quite a bit, so the fitness isn't bad. But the natural tendency, you know, you've been sick, you're back training, you're excited, you want to go faster, you want to do more. How many people do you know run tempo too quick? How many people do you know say they're at threshold, say they're at tempo, and then they race slower? And you're like, you're confused. People that do threshold and tempo right. I ran 209 for a marathon, right? 209.
I think I've learned over time it's okay to slow things down. I'm running today 11 miles per hour. The lactate's sitting at 2. In about 3 months' time, next March, we'll come back to this, I want the lactate to be 2 at 12 miles per hour. You have to be a pioneer. It doesn't fucking matter. Nobody said to run 209 you have to run 12 miles per hour, 2 millimoles at 7,000 feet. But just have some exciting goals. Finish today, get the job done, wrap it up, hit the right intensity, hit the right lactate, and then set yourself a fucked up goal. Say to yourself, in 3 months' time, I want that to be 12 miles per hour. You don't have to be satisfied with today. You can be happy with it. You can be content. You can be fucking chuffed to pieces that you kept the speed at the right speed and hit the right millimoles, hit the right lactate, because there's thousands of runners that don't race very well, that do tempo way too fast. We all know that guy. But you can still walk away from today going, yeah, I want that to be better. I want that to be faster, because I know if I can get that 1 mile per hour quicker by adding the gym back in, getting back to 90, 100 mile a week. You know, I just weighed in before I come out here. I'm still 158 pounds. I can get that down to 150. And so have things to work on, have little motivations, have little goals, put them in place. I thought my nose was bleeding. And then get the work done. But I might have to go mess around on the mountain bike a bit more.